If men want to be successful with women, should they approach more with humility or confidence?
Confidence.
Confidence.
I find confidence like really attractive. Like, I don't know.
But not like annoying
Yeah,
confidence.
just like, I don't know. Not like cocky
You have to be
confidence.
confident, yeah.
But like if
You
they're
can't be
confident, it's
cocky.
attractive.
Yeah. Confident, but not cocky.
Yeah.
Okay, so and cocky, difference between confidence and cocky would be like,
I don't know. Confidence is like
Like,
the
they're
way
not
they go about it.
scared.
Yeah.
And they, like, know what they're doing.
But
If they're
cocky,
yeah.
I
Cocky,
don't know.
they're
Cocky,
like,
they just like know that they could get you. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
right?
They
It's
kinda,
like their
look down
confidence
upon
is
you.
coming from some like stupid reservoir
Yeah.
of like,
Yeah. Like, confidence, they, like, respect you and, like, want to get to know you. Cocky, they're like, oh, I can easily get that.
Like, yeah.
okay,
I agree with that.
that's cool. That's insightful.
Thanks for helping you out.
I was recently told a story that frankly was kind of heartbreaking, but it contains a really important lesson. There was a man that was born with certain disadvantages. He was short and he was ugly. There's no other way to put it. He was not genetically blessed. However, he worked hard and became the best possible version of himself. Lots of self-improvement, and he grew lots of confidence. Now, this is a true story. This man ends up with a woman, but after they've been dating a while, she shared with him what her first impressions were. She saw this short, unattractive guy commanding the room, lots of confidence, making his presence known, and her first gut response was anger. When she confessed this to him, she was hugely embarrassed, but regardless, that was her authentic response in the moment. She had thoughts along the lines of, he's so short and unattractive. What right does he have to be so confident? I've spoken to other women about this story and they confirm that they've had similar feelings themselves. Isn't that fascinating? That when women see a display of confidence from a man whose genetics don't necessarily warrant a lot of confidence, a woman's response is anger. Now, for those of us who live in the West, we think that we live in a culture that celebrates self-improvement and achievement. As we become the best version of ourselves, we imagine those around us cheering us on, urging us to always do better and better, being happy for our success. And that is true as long as you're good looking. But if you're a woman and you're in the dating market looking for a partner and you come across a man who's short, ugly, and not confident, she doesn't really want that man to improve. Maybe cognitively, she thinks that she wants him to improve in the sort of abstract sense, because she would say, yes, I want everybody to always be getting better, always to be improving themselves. But at a really gut instinctual level, she wants him to stay at the same level that he was born. Women don't want ugly men to climb the ladder. They want them to stay in their place. As an ugly man, you improving yourself is actually threatening to them. It feels as though they're being personally attacked. So why is this? Well, I'm going to explain. You see, when it comes to dating, women are driven by the instinct of hypergamy, which is the desire to find the highest value mate that they possibly can. Now, of course, high value means different things to different people. Can mean wealthy, successful, sociable, but universally appreciated are good genetics, because if you have children with a man who has good genetics, then those genes are going to be passed on to your children. With genetics, it's quite easy to determine which men are desirable and which aren't. If women were to look at 100 men and be asked to rank them from most desirable to least desirable, largely just based on genetics, women would be able to do that. But it's also in their best interest to interact with the men so that they can gauge their personal level of confidence. It's almost as though they need the interaction to serve as confirmation. So the theory goes that the men at the top of the ladder, the ones with the obviously best genetics, should feel good about that. They should feel confident. And so when they interact with him and they feel that confidence, they go, ah, yes, I've judged this correctly. This man is one of the top men. Women need to have good judgment about this sort of thing because so much rides on that decision. Women have just a really short window of time where they're young, fertile, and desirable, and they need to leverage that youth and beauty into securing a high-value mate. She doesn't have a lot of time, biologically speaking, and so she cannot afford to make a mistake. So to make women's lives easier, to make sure they make the right choice and they don't make a mistake, it's in their best interest that all of the men exist in a very clear hierarchy. They like it when it's obvious who the top men are and who the bottom men are. Genetics are a good start, but it's confidence that really serves as a fantastic compass to guide you to where the high value men are. It seems straightforward to say that the confident men are obviously going to be at the top. Why wouldn't they be? They're the ones who are successful. They're the ones who are the winners. And obviously the ones at the bottom of the ladder are not going to be confident. They're going to be shy and awkward. And why wouldn't they be? They're the losers. It's really useful for women in the dating market if the men at the bottom of the ladder don't display any signs of confidence. It's good that they're shy. It's good that they're awkward, because these serve as warning signals telling the women to stay away. There are no good genetics to be found here. Women want a clear and precise hierarchy of men. That way they don't waste any time. They know where the top value men are and they can focus all of their attention on those men. So what happens when a woman observes a man who, from his first impression, seems as though he should be at the bottom of the ladder, at least genetically speaking? He's short and ugly, but she sees him acting with the kind of confidence that's usually reserved for men at the top of the ladder. It's very confusing for women, and they don't like it because they're getting mixed signals. This guy is not attractive, but he's confident. So is he high value or not? This actually makes women quite angry for two reasons. The first reason is straightforward. It's because you've made their task of distinguishing who's high quality and who isn't a lot harder. The second reason is because they think that you're trying to trick them. If you're not a good looking guy, you're very short, you're very ugly, whatever it is, and you're acting with a kind of confidence that's reserved for somebody with better genetics, they're suspicious that you're trying to manipulate them. You're trying to sleep with them out of fraud, and they're going to wake up in 9 months' time with a baby with inferior genetics. It is really hard for men to understand exactly how this feels for a woman, because this is a uniquely female experience. There's really no male equivalent to this. But if a woman senses that you're trying to trick her in some way, that you're trying to come across as a high value man when you clearly aren't, she can become furious. Stop trying to fool me. You are a low value man. You're clearly short, you're clearly ugly, you clearly have bad genetics. You have no right to be acting so confident. So stop all this act. Stop everything pretending to be a high quality man. You should know your place. You're a low value man and you should act like one. As bizarre as this may sound, if you are ugly but also confident, women can feel personally affronted. So what's the lesson here? If you're short and ugly and you're at the bottom of the ladder, should you just stay there out of some misguided notion that you're doing women a favor by knowing your place? Absolutely not. Get into self-improvement. Get your life together. Become the best possible version of yourself that you can be. Just don't expect women to cheer you on. In fact, expect everything to be a lot harder because of where you started. If you're tall and you're good looking, women will give you a pass. You can say dumb things. You can act like a moron sometimes. Women will just look past it. If you're short and ugly though, there is very little room for you to make mistakes, especially if you're trying to date the top 10% of women. You will be tested mercilessly. Women will constantly be testing you because they need to verify, is this confidence for real? Or is this just an act? Is this just a fraud? They need to be certain that what they're seeing in your outward display of confidence is actually based on some tangible biological reality that's going to be passed on to their children. The good news is that if your confidence has reached the point where you're able to brush off these tests, pass them with ease to the point where you don't even notice them, then women will get on board. Women will naturally fall into your frame, and even short, ugly guys, if you've done the work, you can get a high quality woman. It's not easy, but it's absolutely possible. I always think, what else is there to do with your life? You know, self-improvement is basically the only game in town. It's surely preferable to just hiding and being scared of going after what you truly want. But don't expect it to be easy, and don't expect any support along your journey. If you're short and you're ugly, everything is going to be harder. You can still have everything that you want, but it's going to be a lot more difficult to attain. What exactly are my qualifications? Here I am on YouTube telling people about women, telling people about relationships, but what makes me an expert? What gives me the right to be spouting off all of these opinions? If you've had this question, then you're not alone. Somebody on my Patreon community asked me this question, and I thought that it was sufficiently important that I dedicated a 13.5-minute video explaining my qualifications. In this video, I talk about my university qualifications, I talk about my professional career before YouTube, I talk about what got me interested in relationship psychology, and where my authority on this subject comes from. So if you're curious to know more about me and where I'm coming from, check out this video. For every video that I post on YouTube, I post an additional bonus video on my Patreon. That means that right now, you're only seeing half of the total content that I create. If you want to see the other half, including this video and a whole bunch of others, just sign up to my Patreon. It's just $5 a month and it's a fantastic way to support the channel. I really hope to receive your support.